Welcome to Crime Darkroom, where darkness is illuminated and hidden truths are uncovered. I'm Elias Blackwood, and in this video, we delve into one of the most chilling and mysterious stories. Today, we step into the mind of one of history's most terrifying serial killers, Jigos, a name synonymous with fear and brutality. But has anyone ever truly uncovered the hidden realities behind this story? If you're fascinated by serial crimes, the name Jigos will undoubtedly remind you of fear and horror. He never chose his victims randomly. Each murder he committed was like a dark work of art. His killings were ruthless, calculated, and terrifying, so much so that even the police couldn't initially figure out who was behind these crimes. A killer who meticulously carried out his plans and always stayed one step ahead of the authorities. At first, Jigos' murders seemed unrelated. Victims of different ages and circumstances were killed in various locations. However, what the police eventually realized was that Jigos left no trace of himself. No fingerprints, no bloodstains, and no physical evidence of any kind. Initially, it appeared these crimes were unconnected, but over time, the police concluded that the murders were the work of a single killer. But what set Jigos apart from other serial killers? He always employed ruthless precision in his murders. Each crime he committed bore the mark of meticulous planning and his unique strategy. His killings were not just acts of rage, but a form of art. Jigos saw murder as a psychological game, a game in which only he could emerge victorious. His victims were carefully chosen, and he never repeated the same pattern. Every murder was a new spectacle, a chilling masterpiece. Amidst this bloody game, Jigos' true motive was never fully revealed. Some psychologists believe he was a psychopath with severe mental disorders. Others argue that he simply derived pleasure from the power of killing, and that's why he committed these crimes. What is certain, however, is that he never killed for anything other than power and control in his own twisted world. Finally, after years of deception and evading the police, Jigos was captured. But this capture was anything but simple. He was so skilled and intelligent that he could anticipate every move the police made. However, through relentless efforts and meticulous evidence gathering, the police uncovered his plans and managed to apprehend him. His arrest was the result of tireless work by special teams and intricate investigations. Yet this wasn't the end of the story, because even after his capture, Jigos still held secrets within himself. One of the most chilling aspects of this case was Jigos' silence after his capture. He never fully answered questions, always concealing part of the truth from the police. This silence, more than anything, revealed a darker side of his personality. Perhaps he wasn't just a killer seeking to take lives, but a master of psychological games. If this story intrigued you as much as it did me, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Crime Darkroom. This is where darkness is illuminated, and you step into the world of brutal and mysterious crimes. By subscribing, you join a community that always seeks the truth together in this complex and shadowy world. Now that we've discussed Jigos' capture and behavior, we must address why he was so successful. Why wasn't he caught sooner? Why couldn't the police identify him initially? One of the reasons for his success was his remarkable ability to cover his tracks. Not only did he avoid leaving physical evidence, but in some murders he even misled the police to divert their investigations down the wrong path. This story is not just about a serial killer. It's a psychological analysis of an individual who participates in the dark game of crime with mastery and control. He wasn't just interested in killing, he thrived on always being one step ahead of the police and society. For Jigos, the murders were not merely acts of revenge or necessity. They were psychological experiments, where he sought to outwit everyone around him. Finally, after Jigos' capture, many psychologists and researchers delved into studying and analyzing his personality. No serial killer had ever managed to evade the police so skillfully and for such an extended period. Some analysts believe that Jigos viewed crime deeply, not as a psychological or social need, but as a need for control and dominance over others. For him, each murder was a victory and a reaffirmation of his power. Some psychologists pointed to specific mental traits of Jigos. They believed that through these crimes, he derived immense satisfaction and pleasure, something he may never have experienced in his everyday life. He spent his entire life in search of power and control over others, and the murders were merely tools for achieving this goal. How a person becomes a serial killer is a question that still lacks a definitive answer. Many serial killers suffered from painful or specific psychological experiences that drove them toward crime, but Jigos was different. He never killed for typical reasons, such as revenge or emotional violence. For him, the murders were like a mental game in which no one but him would emerge victorious. With Jigos' capture, society and the media began to react in various ways. For many people, this case turned into a mystery. How could someone be so skilled? How was it possible that the police hadn't found a single clue about him? These questions lingered in the minds of the public, highlighting that Jigos' crimes were not just a criminal story, but a major challenge for both the police and society. These crimes had deep and irreparable effects on the families of the victims. Many families are still searching for answers. The questions that remain in their minds are, why did this happen to our loved ones? What in their lives led them to become murder targets? These questions, especially after Jigos' capture, remain unanswered. Psychological studies show that Jigos' crimes had severe social and psychological impacts on society. Not only did those close to the victims suffer, but society at large was also affected by these murders. Jigos had managed to instill a deep fear in the hearts of the people, a fear that grew with each killing. Yet, even after his capture, many psychologists still wonder, was Jigos just an ordinary serial killer? Or was he a unique individual who played a dangerous game with lives and deaths in the darkness of his mind? What remained from his capture for both the police and society were only unanswered questions and deep fears that continue to root themselves in the minds of the public. Now that we've shared Jigos' story with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you, like many analysts, believe that Jigos was a psychopath or simply a killer in search of power and control over others? How do you think an individual can reach such a point of terror and bloodshed? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in more stories like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Crime Darkroom channel. This is the place where every darkness turns into light, and every truth hidden in the shadows will be revealed to you. This was the end of the Jigos story, but there are still countless stories left to tell. Crime never sleeps, so neither do we.